Cool. We've got Maura, Karen, Susan, Kathy, Andrea. Hi, everybody. How are you? There's Melanie. Cool. Hey, Andrea, how are you? Good to see you. Hi, Kathy. Susan, Karen, Maura, Christine. I haven't seen you in a while. All right, we got Harriet. We've got a good crowd. Awesome. We're going to start. We have more people coming, but we're going to go ahead and start. And I see Harriet's got her New Orleans colors on. Cool. Awesome. So let me introduce you to the wonderful Nancy Colier. And here's her new book that we're going to be talking about. And it's fabulous. It looks backwards to me. I don't know if is it the right way to you guys?
It's the right way.
Oh, good. It looks backwards to me.
Everything looks backwards to me.
It's a fabulous book. Who is not exhausted? I think we are all just overwhelmingly exhausted. And I was saying to Nancy earlier, then add in being a woman on top of it, and you're just ready to fall on your face. So here's Nancy's bio, and then she's going to take it from here. This is very interactive, guys. So we're counting on you guys to jump in and talk. And let's get this all going so it's not just about the book, but it's about you guys too. A longtime student of Eastern spirituality, Nancy Colier is a psychotherapist, interfaith minister, and the author of The Emotionally Exhausted Woman, Why You're Feeling Depleted and How to Get What You Need, as well as numerous other books. She is a thought leader and national speaker on women's empowerment, well-being, and mindful technology, and has been featured on Good Morning America, the New York Times, and countless other media. She's also a regular blogger for Psychology Today. In addition, Nancy spent 25 years as a nationally top-ranked equestrian and serves as a performance consultant to professional athletes and artists. I didn't know that part about you, Nancy. I like that.
We learn a lot about each other these times.
I bet. Okay. So take it away, Miss Nance.
So welcome, everybody. I'm delighted to see your very small faces on my screen. Why don't we actually just take a quick moment to sort of honor our need for transitions, even though we've been listening to the bio and so on, just to mark the space that we're about to enter together, and close the eyes. And just drop out of the day, out of the morning, out of what's to come, and bring your attention down into the body. Just feel yourself arriving. Feel that sense of presence in the body. The aliveness in the body. You can notice any sensations, any sounds. And place a hand on your abdomen. And just take a really nice, slow, deep breath into the hand. And a long, slow exhalation. And you might just notice there, how am I in this moment as I arrive here into this event? How am I in the body? What's happening in my body? And how am I in my heart? Is there a kind of background wallpaper emotion that I'm coming into this experience with? Don't have to elaborate on it, but just to note it. And you can notice what's going on in the mind. Is it a really busy kind of mind, lots and lots of bouncy thoughts, or kind of quiet in the mind right now? Just seeing how you're arriving. And let's add a hand to your heart, the other hand on your heart. And just feel what this feels like to keep yourself company, to be here, embodied. And you can wish yourself or say a prayer. May I receive whatever it is I need in this hour. May I receive whatever it is I really need. You don't have to know what it is or who you're asking, just that you receive. One more nice deep breath. Long, slow exhalation. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And just notice if you're just a little bit more here, just a little bit more landed. Here we are. So again, welcome. The name of the book is The Emotionally Exhausted Woman. And a lot of people ask me, why did I write this particular book, besides being emotionally exhausted? You know, every woman, I would say every woman that I floated this title by, when I was just coming off my last book and finishing the tour, I started thinking about this book and I started mentioning the name, and every single woman said, oh my God, when do I get it? Where is it ready? And I said, I haven't written the outline. So that gave me a little bit of a sort of hit that might be something. And, you know, another question that always shocks me, the response I get, which is almost every woman in my practice, in my private practice, that I ask the question, who's taking care of you? Starts to cry. It's like my Barbara Walters question. Everyone just falls to their knees with that question. So those two truths were percolating in my mind, obviously over, you know, I've been a therapist almost 30 years. So I meet a lot of women. My practice is primarily women. And actually, early in my practice, when I was just a beginning therapist, I met a woman, and she was probably the seed of this book. But she was a woman named Miranda. I never forgot her entirely. But she was this incredibly charismatic, early 50s, just terrific inside and out. She had a wonderful career, a wonderful family. She was connected. She was just lovely in every way. And she was this great mom to her kids. She was a great partner to her husband. She was a great daughter to aging parents. She was a great member of the community. She was a great doctor to patients. And yet she said something to me in that opening session that, again, I think might have been the seed of this book that I tucked away, which was, she said, when I asked her, what are you doing here in my office? She said, I want a bolder and more authentic life. I'm thinking, that your life is pretty bold and pretty authentic. And she said, and this was where it got juicy, she said, but I want that bolder and authentic, even if it costs me being so reliably likable. was such a fascinating comment. She said, even if it costs me no longer being someone who everyone describes as so great. And that was a very kind of a watershed moment for me, because I saw there was a link between not being as bold and authentic as we might be and being so darn likable. And what I wanted to understand, because I met so many Mirandas over the next 3 decades, so many Mirandas, where what I would find is that we know what everyone in our life wants and needs, and we're really, really good at providing it and figuring it out and preempting it and all of that yummy stuff that we do so well, but we don't know what we need. And there's when I ask women, when they start to wake up, and I start to ask women about, what do you want? What do you want for this one wild life? Often what we bump into is a blank space. Because that terrain, if you will, hasn't been developed. And, it goes back, as we know, to very young, very, very young. We are indoctrinated into this system where, oh, be sweet, be nice, be giving, be generous, and above all, be selfless. Be selfless. This is our task in life, in a sense, to disappear as a self. So we come to learn that we are in fact valued, and we are loved, and we are respected, and we are included when we are selfless, when we give. So it becomes our job, evolutionarily, to take care of other people. That's what we do. That's what we do. Our job on earth is to take care of other people, and we are rewarded for it. But what happens there is, as a selfless being, our goal then becomes about being likable at all costs. You should have a good experience with me. That's all. As long as you have a good experience with me, I'm safe. I'm okay, right? You're liking me. And we end up in this dreadful, what I call a likability cage. We can be like this, but we can't be like that. We can be like that. We can't be like this. And we all know that this is and that's very, very clearly. By the time we, get going as young women, we know what to be and what not to be. And so much of our energy is drained out of us, really, at the end of the day, in trying not to be negatively labeled. Neurotic, high maintenance, controlling, overly emotional, a diva, a Karen, hysterical, overbearing, emasculating, you name it, right? We've got them all. So much of women's actual energy, it's not just about doing too much. It's not just about not saying no. It's not just about not prioritizing ourselves, but the lion's share of our energy is being frittered away, trying not to be put in one of these negative boxes. And when we start to notice how much energy we spend on that, and to making ourselves, on the flip side, likable, it's profound when you start recognizing that. And, none of this is our fault. A lot of this is about survival. It's really about survival. If you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right above physiological needs, water, sleep, food, is the need to be safe, emotionally safe. And right above safe, believe it or not, is belonging. And right above belonging is self-esteem. So when we talk about being likable, making ourselves pleasing, that's the trifecta. We got all three. We're safe. We're not going to be cast out of the herd. You like me. We've got belonging, same thing. And we've got a sense of we like ourselves, right? And we can, it's really interesting because if you read people like Carol Gilligan or Lynn Brown, some of these masterful feminist psychologists, they were able to track right where this happens, where this knowing and this trade-off happens, right around 12, 13, 14, we figure out unconsciously that if we keep showing up as who we authentically are with all of our parts, we haven't yet labeled them wanted and unwanted, we're just showing up as real, that might not go so well for this me. We might find that that actually doesn't make this me too safe. And, you know, it might even be dangerous to the people being exposed to this real me. So we start tucking away and turning away from what's real. And we start crafting a person who's pleasing. And, you know, what's heartbreaking about this as the mother of daughters, as a woman, as the friend of women friends, as all of this, is that we come to believe that the best way to take care of ourselves is to abandon ourselves. And that tween becomes a teen, becomes a 20-something, 30, 40, something. And very often we never find our way back. The split remains. And we end up in our 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, 70s, 80s, 90s, feeling utterly emotionally exhausted because we're unplugged from our real power source. This point in our lives where we decided that having a relationship is more important than having a self, that being in relation with other people is more important than being in a relationship with ourselves. So when we do that and we live a life like that, what's lost is our connection with ourselves, our tether into this still small voice of what is true, what is our real experience, what do we want and need. And over time, as we listen less and less and less, because of course we've discovered that the less we know about ourselves, the safer and happier we are, that voice goes silent. If it were a muscle, it would atrophy. And at the same time, who we think we are, how we experience ourselves gets traded in, because that could be dangerous. So it gets traded in for, well, my self-experience is determined by what do you think of me? So I'm now a mirror. And if you think well of me, I can hold on to that for a little bit. And that'll serve me, but it's very fragile. It has to be kept reinforcement because, again, my safety, my profound sort of existential safety of inclusion is based on this likability and your version of me, which is a very shaky place and a place that is not solid and grounded and not in the truth. It's really not in the truth. And what's so crazy to me is that then we step in and we try and heal this deep-rooted depletion that has to do with having left ourselves behind, and we serve that with mani-pedis and with massages, which are lovely. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm a big fan, but it has nothing to do with what's going on. And on top of that, it in some sense, it strengthens the bars of this likability cage, because it becomes yet another to do for us, another should. Are you taking care of yourself? Really? No, but really, are you? So we become yet in another way to blame. Oh, probably not taking care. Taking enough walks? Are you doing sound baths? Are you using hemp? It becomes like a must do that we're responsible for again. And at the same time, it's another external thing that we're chasing. Oh, somewhere the answer is out there, and that'll take care of all these unwanted parts of me, which are what's really in the way of my being okay. If I could get rid of all these unwanted parts, then, and there's a guru, there's a cashmere wrap, there's a something out there that will make me a better version of me, and then I won't be so depleted. It keeps us in that loop. And, at the end of the day, self-care is not, it's not something we buy or do. It's something that we are. It's self-caring. I mean, we have a system, crazy as it is, that we need a Post-it note on our computer to remind us, you matter. If that doesn't tell you that there's something deeply flawed about our self-care industry, imagine having a Post-it with like your kid or a dear friend or your partner saying they matter. We have a system, we have to remind ourselves of that, and still believing, right, that there's some kind of essential oil or Dead Sea pearl that is going to reconnect us with our power source, our real vitality. So in this book, what I offer, what I really wanted to get at, and it took me time to really think about, so what does bring us home? It's not the mani-pedis. They're, you end up depleted and exhausted, smelling good and with beautiful nails. What really brings us home has to do with fundamental change in our behavior. So what I prescribe in the book and take you through is, what are the choices we can make, boots on the ground, in our day, in the way we talk to ourselves, in the way we accept the whole miracle and catastrophe that we are, a whole way of being in relationship with ourselves that encourages this authentic self to come back online and gets out of the way what is obscuring and still blocking what's real for us, that was abandoned so long ago and continually is receiving this message that you can't be here, it won't be okay for you if you are. So it's really this fundamental paradigm shift that I teach, where the definition of safety moves from being likable to standing in your truth. Standing in your truth and surrendering the results, so that our expression of ourselves is not a means to an end. If I can use my expression to get you to like me, okay, now at least I get that. Nothing is real, because I've traded in having a relationship for being related and being known. I've given that up. I'm going with having a relationship rather than being known. But when we shift that fundamental definition of safety, is I'm in the truth. And that's unshakable. When you find that and you pour yourself into your own shoes, and you can tolerate all the narratives and all the projections and all the stuff that's maybe going to come at you when you're owning your own truth, but it's a place that's unshakable, and it is filled with vitality. It is not depleted there. And so what I really hope I teach in the book is how to become independent again. we live to some degree in a codependent style, right? What you're experiencing, either it's my fault or I need to correct it, or somehow everything about me, what you think of me is who I think I am, and so on. It's all, again, in this role we serve for others. I want us out of that, where we can stand in our own separateness. This is my experience of myself. This is my truth. I'm interested in your experience of it. And, not but, and I still stand in mine. I own it. I claim it. And I'm solid here. So that is a place of power. That is not a place of depletion. So I want to, what's the new hip word? Elevate the conversation on what is self-caring behavior. It's all about our relationship with ourselves. It is not about getting other people to treat us differently. It is about how we are relating to ourselves. So I'm going to stop there. That's a lot of information, a lot of stuff. And I really look forward to us co-creating the next half hour, because it's not just about, what I've seen in practice for a lot of years. It's what you guys live, and where maybe I can bring some wisdom, some experience to the table. So I open it up to questions. I'd love to know how this issue of being what you should be, not being what you shouldn't be, the likability cage, how it all plays in your life and how you live emotional exhaustion. Where is it stuck or blocked in your life? Or what in all that, let me ask you another thing, what in all that resonated with you? You just got this huge buffet. What do you want to put on your plate?
I'll go.
Go.
So the whole thing with the manicure pedicure, I totally relate to. I think it's the funniest thing. Oh, you're stressed? Take a bath. You'll be all better. It's such a bunch of fake nonsense. And that's why the whole wellness craze has become ridiculous, because it's like the new buzzword, but a lot of the things you said, I don't live that way. I mean, first of all, I like being, because I'm successful in my own personal and professional life, but I like being in charge of everybody. I'm like the family matriarch, which I always crack up. And you've all heard this, because when my mother-in-law passed away, I wasn't the next in line in terms of age. And they told me I was the only one that could do this job. And what that meant was, I keep everybody like together. And I said, how is a skinny girl who doesn't cook or clean a matriarch? But they said it was my job anyway. But I think there's something, I think it's okay to feel nice. I don't do a lot of shooting, but when I started my business, the first thing I told someone that I was nice, and they told me if I didn't lose that, I was never going to be successful in business, so.
But let me jump in there for a second, Andrea, because we do this thing, right, where we love duality in this culture. So there's nothing wrong with nice. These are wonderful qualities. Right. Caring, giving. This is the best of us. There's no question. I always want to add the word and what, for many women, and I hear for you that you don't struggle with that aspect of it, often that comes with a great loss. Because there are so many parts of us that we've decided, well, that's not welcome, or that's not welcome because it will be dangerous. And so nice becomes a have to.
Okay.
That's the distinction, but absolutely nice, sweet, generous, loving, kind, empathic. We want those things. They can't be a prison cell.
That makes sense. And I think a lot has to do with my childhood. I was brought up, and everybody has heard me all the time, I could be anything I want to be and just be nice and generous and, save the world all at the same time. And I had the most incredible progressive parents of their day, and it was just like, that's how it is. And I'm proud to say I have 3 daughters, and they're all so different. Like, we laugh how different they are in terms of personalities and a lot of different things. But I see they all have that same, like, they can have big jobs and do all kinds of stuff, but they're still the one, I have one daughter, still does what I do. She'll send a $10 Starbucks gift card to a friend because she sees she's having a bad day. So there's ways of, like you said, being nice, but also not
And
losing your identity of who you are,
that's it, exactly. And keep marching the march. It sounds like it's working for you. What I work with a lot of women on is this feeling that, and maybe it's just the women I've bumped into over 30 years, but there is so much underlying judgment of a woman that they face when, for example, maybe they're angry. Then they become an angry woman, or maybe they are strong and then they become an emasculating woman. And so there is women talk about a lot of what they really are doing, twisting and turning. For example, I had a woman in my office last week and she came in, she's big businesswoman. She was exhausted. And I asked her, she normally sleeps on planes. But she had forgotten her pillow thing. And so I said to her, you could just get a pillow from the flight attendant. And she said, yeah, I didn't want to be a bother. This is a powerful woman. I asked another woman I was having breakfast with, one of my dearest friends, and she ordered toast. And she said, just no butter on it. I'll just do it dry. And I watched the waiter not write anything down. And I was not going to be the controlling person. So I said nothing. And of course, the toast came and it was glistening with butter. And I saw her leave it to her side, not touch it, not do anything. And she's one of my closest. So I said, hey, babe, why not just send it back? It's your breakfast. And she said, I can't do it today, Nancy. I can't do it. I can't fight the neurotic. And she went on to list anal, crazy, tightly wrapped, high maintenance. She went through the whole thing. And she said, some days I just don't have it. I don't have it. And that made me know I need to keep writing. Just had to keep writing and talking to women, because a lot of it is that. I asked my 19-year-old daughter, I said, what's something you sort of don't want to be? What's your dreaded? And she said right away, she said, oh, pain in the ass. And I said, what is it that makes you a pain in the ass? And she said, wanting to talk about how I feel. Didn't miss a beat. That makes me a pain in the ass, and I won't do it. Wow. So I've been very highly exposed for some odd reason to how much of our energy goes into crafting a truth, massaging it, managing it, manufacturing it, sweetening it, debarking it, whatever word you want to use, so as to manage your experience of me and not be put in one of these boxes. And so very, 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 very frequently, we are kind of preemptively shifting our truth to make it work. Because I don't want to hurt you with my truth, and I need you to like me. I don't want to be put in a bad box with my truth. So I've got that kind of a background program going all the time, which is utterly depleting. I don't know if that resonates for anyone here.
I just want to ask one more question, then I won't take it anymore. I'm so surprised to hear some of this, because I feel like that might have been 40 years ago or 50 years ago. Like, to me, we're raising, I'm not judging your daughter or anybody, but like, we're raising our kids that you could, I don't know, I feel like maybe I'm missing a different world or I'm lucky, but I just feel like, you just, I mean, obviously there's different issues facing the day, whether it's anti-Semitism and all the horrible things, based on your color or your religion. But in terms of just like, just,
yeah, this is a deep feeling though of, like I had started with, of God, I really know what everyone else needs. I really know. I'm so good at that. And I actually get a lot of it. I do. But there's this giant myth that, I'll give you another example. I was out with I don't know why all the examples today are in restaurants, but I was in another restaurant with another friend, and she has 3 kids, and she was running around ordering for the kids, and they were eating, and she'd sort of grab a bite here and there, didn't order anything for herself. And then she never does. I've known this woman 15 years. She's never ordered a meal. And so when I said to her, hey, why do you not order a meal for yourself? She said, oh, I just get so much pleasure about seeing my kids nourished and seeing them happy. I don't really need to eat anything. And so that is what I'm talking about. There's a myth that we should get our needs met by taking care of other people's needs. So we end up, when you get 50 something and the roles are starting to shrink away, maybe the kids are away, or, now we have a slightly different relationship with the husband or the wife, or whatever it is going on, we're left kind of going, well, what do I want? I don't even know. I've always bought into this idea that I want what others want or when others are happy, but and that is the beginning of a birth. That's the beginning of really the exciting time in your life where you turn towards this still small voice that's been turned away from. And how do we open that channel again? Because there is more to us than what we can offer other people. There really is. There's an experience of self. What do I want for me? That was heresy forever. To say that made us selfish. Again, we're a but culture. If I want to know what I need for me, it means that I don't care about you and what you want for you. Absolutely not. It's an equal both are welcome, the whole thing. But we have to put ourselves also, what do I want for me? Not so that you're happy. Whole new territory. Does that resonate with anyone?
Nancy, you have a couple of hands up. I don't know if you can see Mandy.
Oh,
and
yes, I do.
Carol,
Yes, I
and
do.
then
Okay,
Kathy.
Mandy, start, and then we'll go to Kathy.
Yeah. And then Carol. Carol was waiting.
Carol, okay.
Thanks.
Go.
Yeah, I did resonate with a lot of what you were saying. 5 years ago, I moved back to Iowa from California. I lived in the basically Silicon Valley, lived in Palo Alto, Menlo Park area. And I've found I've had to kind of stuff myself in a little box because they come across a little harsh, I guess. Probably because, it's not the easiest environment there to live anyhow, especially if you worked in tech. But the other thing, I came back, I saw my mirror in my mom. And my mom, my father died 3 years ago now. And so my mom has been somebody I've been helping, but trying to find self-care, find time where I can just be down, and has been, a journey. So for me, self-care, what I've learned over the years, because I've done a lot of personal work, sometimes just being by myself and relaxing, either listening to music or reading, can be self-care. Massages and mani and pedicures are wonderful. But I do agree with that comment about that. I did take myself once to a wellness retreat in Krippala. And one of the things I liked about Krippala is, I thought it was a little strange at first, is like your morning meal, you don't talk to anybody. It's that whole being within self. I think all my friends thought I was a little wacky when I did it, I had a really enjoyable time because it's not the whole day that you're by yourself. You meet other people, you take yoga classes, we went for hikes and all that. And then I thought it was interesting what you said about the lady who didn't eat the food. I was raised by a mom who has well, I'm not going to say a little bit of an eating disorder, but she does. And I learned over time how that impacted me as growing up. And good example today, she says she's working on this festival of trees and I'm not going to eat all day. So codependent me keeps making her food, even though I'm very exhausted, but I brought her food and I just left it at that. But, you know, to the outside world, that's really great, but you got to find the balance. It's really finding that balance.
You do. And I want to honor what you said there, that your knowing that you needed your own attention is really important, right? I got back from Kripalu on Sunday night. I just gave a workshop there, and I'm going to give another workshop at Kripalu weekend in May. And we had Friday, Saturday, Sunday together, 44 women, and it was spectacular. And I really invite you to come. But you're pointing to something that I really want to support, which is your longing for your own company, to be quiet with you, right? Which people then interpret as wacky, or shouldn't you get what you need from us or out there or the others, whatever experiences. No, we are wired spiritually to need our own company. And that is not wacky, that is not selfish, that is a deep longing. And sometimes we can, whether you're going for a massage or one of these other experiences, what you're really longing for is permission to be with yourself, with the door shut to other people's needs and the door shut to noise. You get silence, you get your own experience of self. That is so primal. And so I'm hoping that you don't pathologize that in the way that other people are afraid of that, because they want to stay distracted and God knows, don't meet myself, right? So honoring that is a really, really big deal. And I think what you said about it with your mom too, really paying attention to your experience of the eating disorder, right? Not just fixing it, which is our nature, but actually what is that like for you? Again, I'm pointing you back there.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, I've worked many years on getting self-aware, and it does still get a moments of wackiness from people, especially being in the Midwest. On the West Coast, it wasn't as wacky. Here, this is not a concept you would put out there. It's very much almost, I was driving today, I go, there's almost like a codependency here.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that from other people there too. Yeah. But honor, I want to jump into everyone's question. But I want you to honor what you're moving towards there is healthy. However it's projected onto or turned into something crazy, stay with it. That is your well-being.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah. Kathy.
Actually, Carol, you've had
Carol.
it
says Kathy
Carol's
on
next. No, because she's just had her hand raised for a long time. So Carol, you go first.
Oh.
Thank you so much. And I'm so glad that I was able to be here because it's much needed for me right now. And I'll tell you, so I was born and raised in Honduras. and by a mother who gave plenty of agency to literally single thing that you just said right now. And so it kind of, I grew up being able, my mother never had to go or would not go to my school to defend me or anything like that, because we were to address our own issues, because she never saw us, like she passed away several years ago. So I always say it's almost like she spent that time that was limited equipping us for what we would have to do for self. So I saw myself since I was very young. I never, and I saw how that voice, even though if you saw the city where I'm from, you would be like, wow, because it's like a really small city. But I always, her intention in me using this voice, I've always been amazed how far it has taken me. But I wanted to mention, and I wanted to share this context with the lady that mentioned earlier about, I thought we were ahead. That's actually the problem, that it's like, I compared it this morning in my morning meditation as a gas that we can't see it and we can't touch it, but there's an expectation that is so huge. The box, you can't see it, you can't touch it, but the expectation is huge around what you can say and what you can't say. And for me, it's the box has become literally toxic in the United States, to be specific. Because I'm reminded often when my father left the United States after college, and he said he was very poor, and he said, if I go back to Honduras as a Black man, I can be anything. If I stay here as a Black man, my story has already been written for me. And he went to Honduras as a Black man, and he became, I can share here open, he became the wealthiest Black man in Honduras. And people told him, they said, are you crazy? You work at night cleaning UNLV. Why would you leave? You're a great student. Stay in the United States. But my father was a visionary. And he said, no, he says, my story is already written here. And I don't, and I can tell you that I'm in the senior leadership team in a company, and I feel like that every single day, because there's one narrative for being a Black woman. There's not several narratives. There's one narrative. And if I went to Conline, recently, Leslie, for a program, and everyone could not believe that I spoke French or that I spoke 3 other languages because I'm a Black woman, so I should not. But it became almost a punishment in senior meetings that I spoke other languages, because there's one narrative for Black people in this country. So I'm reminded right now, so we would think, and I literally woke up thinking about this after being literally mentally traumatized for almost 2 weeks, could not sleep, thinking, I'm the person that I will speak, like, look at this group, I think I'm probably the only Black woman here. And I'm very comfortable speaking truth in any space. And like I said, it's taken me to a competitive appointment with President Obama. And it's not about my resume, it's about how far someone from a small town can go, because she simply thinks that her voice has value and that it carries other people when it's said out loud. But I can tell you that we don't exist. That's not the world. I mean, we're expected, especially, I would say, specifically in corporate America, I've been in spaces where we have women that create the space, but there is a very loud and clear punishment for that authenticity that you speak of. And all we can do as mothers, I have a daughter, is to give them that agency so that they can also be bold in their life. But we have to continue to challenge these systems that make it toxic for a woman to ask for what she wants. Say, I don't answer my phone randomly at all because I'm on phone all day. And people are, well, it's rude. You're rude if you don't answer your phone. You know what I'm saying? So all these different labels. So I woke up saying, not being negative, but saying to myself, but saying what an opportunity we still have to remove the toxicity that exists around authenticity. Because and so that's kind of like the spirit that I am. I'm blessed to work in a platform where I can continue to advance that work. But I will tell you what I always say, I risk my livelihood every day at being authentic. And it shouldn't have to be the case. And I'm not saying victimizing me, I'm saying all women that speak their truth in any space in this country today risk relationship. So this is very necessary. And I just wanted to share that.
I am so glad you shared that, and thank you for your wisdom. Incredible, Carol. We are spot on the same page, and my work is about a couple things in light of what you said. And thank you, Mom. Right, a big shout to your mom for getting it. But is two things. One is to raise the awareness of us women of how we are abandoning ourselves. So much of that is not even in consciousness, because we start so young that we don't even see all the ways we distort and, do all those things we do with our authenticity to stay safe. So first, to notice that. And then the second thing is to be wise about it, which is to practice speaking our truth, practice standing in our own shoes, being authentic, being real. And also, though, if we're in an environment that has not evolved and we want to get a paycheck, then we are conscious when we are playing in that system, but we haven't abandoned ourselves. That's our safety place. I know I'm changing my truth so I don't lose my job. Okay, no shame in that. But that in the inner relationship, both are held. I still need to do some tweaking here to not be boxed up and dismissed. But here's what I really feel. Might not be a place for it yet in this environment. That's a beautiful space too. I want our relationship with ourselves to be truthful.
Yes, but I do think about, I just wanted to say that for me, I have always just gone ahead and said what I think, because once again, we give agency to so many people when we do that, there's not enough money that any job could ever pay you to not do that in that moment. So then there's always another job, at least for me. I'm far from rich. I just mean there's just enough jobs out there for where I have to, I just have always had that commitment to it.
Well,
because
and that's the thing, right? Which is willing, and I absolutely join you there. That it is to stand in our truth and accept the results of what come. We are the models. I'm just giving a little bit of space for, if I've got 4 kids at home and I'm a single parent and I know I'm in an environment that's going to punish me for that, no shame, no blame. If I keep my mouth shut, that's all. I don't want that to be another, you failed the course, you failed women. Of course, we're working towards being willing to own our truth, and whatever the results are come, this is my safe ground, even if I lose my position, if we can. Yeah. Who's up next?
Yeah,
Kathy.
Kathy and Susan, we have to go quickly, guys, because
Go
we're
quickly.
coming to the end.
Thank you for sharing that was really beautiful. Go ahead.
So I'll just go quickly. So I just wanted to get back to the toast where my kids have just had such a reaction to me sending things back that I've just learned, I've conditioned myself, but I'm not afraid to send toast back. Yeah. But one thing I have shifted on, and maybe it's just the world we live in now, is just to do it in a very gracious and nice way. And it's really shifted the dynamic. Yeah. It's interesting the way your friend said, I can't do it. No, I just can't deal with it, or whatever her response was. But I just find that I've shifted my whole being about, salespeople and people sending wrong food. And it's just like, when you're nice and you're gracious back, it's such a different response. Yeah. And, because I, don't want to be labeled a Karen, but hey, I am by my children. So it's just, that's been a great lesson in life.
Graciousness works in every context. It really does. And, just to support you there too, though, if I can say, it's also about being gracious and kind with ourselves. So in that moment, there is an acceptance of, I do like things the way I like them. I am particular. And I am not going to throw that under the bus by saying, I know I'm crazy. I know I'm neurotic. I know blah, 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 blah. I've heard every woman say it. So the graciousness applies to owning, yeah, maybe I do want things a certain way, and I'm not going to throw that under the bus either.
Thank
Right?
you.
Owning the whole miracle and catastrophe that we are. Thank you for sharing that, though, and I'm so glad. I'm so glad to hear that. Go next. Yeah, I can't.
Jump in quickly, Susan.
Susan, you're up.
Hi, how are you? I started to crash during COVID, as I'm sure a lot of other people did too, and thought about my career. I am in my 70s, but I'm an artist and I've been successful and I'm still working. But I don't want to do it anymore. I just want to stop and say it's the end, and I've had it. And I saw your piece only 2 weeks ago at Kripalu, and it was too late for me to get in, but this is why I came today. Thank you, Leslie. But
Great.
May, come in May.
I think, where are you doing it in May, at Omega?
Kripalu.
Okay,
Again.
I'll come in May.
Yeah. Why do you not stop?
That's the whole thing. I'm so emotionally exhausted thinking about it that during the days now, it's enough for me just to get up and make a meal. And I tend to, grab something to read or exercise like a crazy person. And I can't get through it to just stop and find another direction.
We need to talk.
And I'm
You-
sure a lot of other people are in my same shoes. We're still young at 70-ish,
Yes. Yes.
and we want to keep moving, but
Let me ask you a question. What would permission require to live a life of want at this point in your life, with the time you have left to live a life you want?
that's exactly the question. I want to make sure that my husband is happy with this and that he is taken care of. That's one of the things. He's older than I am and just the most wonderful human being. So I want to consider him in this, number one.
So let's bring him in. I mean, that is doable. You'll bring him into the conversation. Hey, love, I want this, and I want you to be included in it. I want it to also work for you. That's the beginning of our conversation, right there. Let's bring that into the light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is the
Yeah.
first time. This is the first time, because also for many of us who grew up in the 50s, or maybe I'm the only one here, exactly what we were told, that it was impossible for us to do this or to achieve that or go here and go there and go there. And now in my 70s, I'm like, I want to go there.
I encourage you to reach out to me separately. Everybody can reach me through my website, nancycolier.com, 1L. Reach out, read the book, tell me your thoughts on it. And I know we have to close soon. So let this be a beginning. That all sounds really incredibly doable, Susan. Incredibly
Thank
doable.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to bring
continued.
I'm going to bring Nancy back. So Nancy, you have to come back in the next quarter. Obviously, there's a lot to continue talking about. Thank you so much. Let's give Nancy a hand. The book is great. I will tell you, I don't do blurbs for books. I'm asked to do blurbs a lot. I don't have the time. I don't, whatever, but Nancy's book was so fabulous, and she's so fabulous that I did. It was wonderful. Let me just tell you very, very fast what's coming, because I know we all have to go. Covey Club Writers Roundtable, writing a book at midlife. That's tomorrow, November 17th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have a great group of publishers and people who've done it. So anybody who's interested, please come. The Covey Club Lounge, we've opened up just an open space to come talk about whatever you want to. Mondays, every Monday, November, this is next Monday, 21st, but every Monday it'll be open unless it's a holiday. It's an open Zoom, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern time. Just come. We had a bunch of drop-ins. We had like 5 people. It was a wonderful conversation. There's no agenda. Come and talk, bring your questions, whatever. We can talk about Nancy's book. We can talk about what's going on the week, whatever. We just wanted to leave it open with no agenda. Covey Club Book Club is discussing The Lover by Marguerite Duras. That's Monday, November 21st at 7 p.m. Eastern, right after our open house. So you can come do that and then go to the book club. Integrating Ambition and Rest. How do we get what we really need? That's Wednesday, November 30th at 2 p.m. And that's with Dr. Naila Bari. She teaches at Columbia. She's fantastic. And she can talk about how do we examine the cycle of ambition, overwhelm, and exhaustion. I think it's the exhaustion week, Nancy.
It must be.
So we can build a true balance between taking care of ourselves, committing to our families, and developing our most efficient work lives. Storytelling is your superpower. Be more memorable in all that you do. Thursday, December 1st at 6 p.m. And that's Laura Fravel, who's a wonderful coach in how to create great storytelling that you can use to tell your businesses storytelling or your storytelling around you. And I'm going to let you all go since we're 2 minutes over. Nancy, thank you again. And I'm going to drag you back after January then to...
Will not have to drag. I'm delighted to spend time with y'all.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys. Have a great day, and thanks for joining.